Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D, and it's time for another top 25. But this time I'm gonna do a top 30. I haven't done a top 25 or a top 30 in a little bit. I like to do like one every year because it changes because we constantly add movies to our collection. So your top 25 top horror movies from last year might not be the same as this year because you might have added 10 more new horror movies to your collection over the last year or whatever. So I like to do collect these top genres every year or so, every 6 months, or, whatever. But it's been a while since I did a top 25 horror. Since my collection has grown since the last one, I'm doing a top 30. So these are my top 30 horror movies. Now, I will admit, I did not include a lot of the slasher subgenre. This is more like direct horror, a lot of demonic stuff. There's a couple of slashers in here, but I tried to lean more towards, I will do a separate top maybe 10 or top 15 top slasher horror movies. But I wanted to keep this on more of the absolute bone-chilling horror. Now, these might not be super scary to you, but these movies, the criteria to make this list for me was these movies had to be legit scary. That's why I kind of didn't include Halloween, Friday the 13th, because to me, they're scary, but they're not legit. They don't bring up goosebumps. They more like that shock type of scary, like, oh shit, but these right here, some of these are scary and they make you think. In no particular order, these are just random 25. Now, y'all know how I get down. It might be a little bit more than 25. I'm sorry, 30. It might be like 32, 33. You know how I do. I just pull them down and just keep running. But I assure you, it's no more than 35. But I'm calling them the name of the video, my top 35 horror movies. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Remember, not in no particular order. I just pulled them down. And we're going to start this off with one that, when I first saw this, this was highly recommended by another YouTuber in the movie sector, Chris Stuckman. He's really big. He's got like 2 million subscribers. He's a director now. He's directing a movie. I'm not sure when his movie is coming out. He's really big in this sector of YouTube. He moved away from the collector side, and he's more like on the reviewing side. So he does a lot of reviews. I think he's always done reviews, but he also did collecting, but I think he's more or less on the review side of things now. But anyway, this came highly recommended by Chris Stuckman, so I went and picked it up, and I was pleasantly surprised by this movie, how scary this movie is. And it's called The Babadook. This is a really scary horror movie. It was different. I never seen anything like this before. I do believe we watched this over a holiday a couple years ago. Me, my wife, and my kids. I want to say it was Christmas Day. I know it was a day where we was all off, and we was just gathered around the TV, eating breakfast, watching this movie, and it was scary as hell. Very good movie. I don't hear a lot about this one. I don't really see this come up in a lot of like collectors horror movie conversations, but this is called The Babadook. If you don't have this one in your collection, you might want to go ahead and pick this one up. A really, really good horror movie. Next up is The Thing. The original John Carpenter's The Thing. I actually have the remake, and I thought the remake was good too. A lot of people didn't like the remake. I thought it was good. Not better than this, but I really did like both. But again, we're just going to stick to John Carpenter's The Thing. Next up is another one that I never hear about. I thought it was a very scary movie. I thought it was a really good movie. It's called 30 Days of Night. They actually made a sequel to it, which was absolute trash. This is a good movie. 30 Days of Night is an excellent horror movie. This right here is probably in the top. There's so many good horror movies. I'm not going to say give it a number as in where it sits in the tops, but this is definitely one of the top horror movies of all times, and it's Candyman. Tony Todd did a phenomenal job as the Candyman. Great, great movie. Unfortunately, it spawned 2 sequels that really wasn't all that good. The second sequel I thought was just okay, but the third one, nah. The remake I thought was just okay, but none of those was able to recapture the magic of this one. And it's rare that any movie in any genre recapture the magic from the first one or is come out like what they would call it in the music game. They probably do in the movie game. It's rare that anything, a movie or a music album will come out and break what they would call the sophomore jinx, where it will come out, the sophomore project will be better than the first project. Make sense? Okay. Next, The Exorcist. Again, one of the greatest horror movies of all times. Again, I don't know where it would sit, whether it's in the top 10, top 5, but it's definitely one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Here's one. I'm cheating on this one. Guys, you know I always throw curveballs in, and I cheat a little bit in these. This is why I say we're going to go over the 30, but I'm still going to call them the title of the video 30. And this one here is Sinister. Fantastic movie. Scary as shit. Like, really. I hope YouTube don't strike me for saying that, but this movie was scary. I mean, and the second one, both of these was really scary movies. They were really good. I enjoyed Sinister 1 and 2, and I had to put them both together because to me they just work. Sinister 1 and 2, fantastic series. I was hoping to see a third one, but we never got that. It's all right though. The original Carrie with Sissy Spacek. There's 2 sequels. I have one not sequels, remakes. I have one behind me. It's okay. One was okay. One wasn't good at all. They overdid it with the CGI, and one of them, I forget which one it was. I know it was 2 sequels. One was, like I said, one was okay and one wasn't. But this is the original, by far the best. Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, The Shining. Don't really need to say much on that one. Here's another one that doesn't really come up in like top horror list. So I had to put it in there because I didn't want to put it in just because it doesn't make lists. I put it in there because it doesn't make lists, but also it's a fantastic horror movie. Pet Sematary. Now, full disclosure, the book was way better than this. A lot of these horror movies, if they got a book, if they spawn from a book, the book is going to generally be better. Because the book, especially if you read the book, most people read their books in quiet or, you know, close to bedtime. It really has your mind working because the book really stimulate that imagination of yours, really get you going. You start hearing noises and stuff like that. It's crazy. But again, this is a great movie, but the book is by far just way better than this. But this is better than Pet Sematary 2 was actually pretty good. The remake was trash, but this is a really great horror movie. Very scary, edge of your seat. From the Conjuring universe, that's a whole universe. Annabelle creation. There's 3 Annabelle movies, if I'm not mistaken. This is definitely the best one. And I think it's actually, no, it's 4 Annabelle movies. You got Annabelle creation, it's 3 Annabelles. I'm sorry, it's 4 Conjurings. Annabelle creation. This is by far one of the scariest movies in the entire Conjuring universe, and definitely the scariest Annabelle movie. Speaking of the Conjuring universe, I loved pretty much all of them. The Nun was my least favorite, but even that wasn't bad. But it was my least favorite. The Curse of La Llorona was okay. But this is my favorite out of the entire universe, and that's The Conjuring 2. The first one was excellent, but I really, really liked this one. The Conjuring 2. Very scary movie. Next up, again, we're going to do the cheat. I got to do it. The Ring 1 and 2. I loved both of these. They were scary. Now, The Ring, these are scary movies. No doubt about that. The Ring 1 and The Ring 2. Going back in time a little old school here. The Amityville Horror. Very, very scary movie. Definitely. Now, this one is probably one of the few curveballs. I'm going to save that one for last because it's a curveball, and I had to throw at least one curveball at y'all. But anyway, we're going to move on. Us. This was a fantastic movie. It was scary enough. But what really got me about this movie, the fact that it is scary, it was different. But to this day, I really, really love what they did, what the composer who did the score did with 5 on It, the hip-hop classic I Got 5 on It by the Loonies. What he did with that, how he scored it out for this movie was just phenomenal. Us. The score alone is just amazing. Here's another one that doesn't come up in horror movies. Now, I definitely call this a horror movie, for sure. Life. You got this little creature called Kelvin that they named him Kelvin. It's like this organism that they found, and it just, as it devours people, it gets bigger and more powerful as it eats. I'm not saying maybe it eats other things, but whatever they found it on this planet, because the movie started where they already had it and they was experimenting on it, and it just went south from there. It was stalking them on the ships, killing them, eating them, and as it ate, it got bigger and more powerful, and they was trying to keep it from reaching Earth, but it got to Earth, and the movie ended right there. So I would have loved to see a sequel to this, but I don't think we're going to get one. Life. Very scary movie. It is a very scary movie. Next, this is a new movie that just popped into my collection, and it's already one of my tops. Smile. Great movie. We just did this in the collection update video, but this was a scary movie. I enjoyed it so much, and it is a really scary movie. Here's another cheat. You guys, you know how it is. I'm cheating again. A Quiet Place 1 and 2. And the reason why I did these two particulars is because a lot of these horror movies are like mini universes unto themselves. Quiet Place 1, Quiet Place 2 pick up right after. They go right into each other. Bam, like bam, bam. But I like A Quiet Place 2 because it shows a little bit of what they didn't show in 1. So A Quiet Place 1 and 2, great horror movies. Fantastic. This one is an honorable mention. That's the curveball, so we'll save those. Hereditary. I think Toni Collette should have gotten an award for this. I'm not sure if she did. Fantastic movie. My guy, Dell on Movies, when he just did his top 25, this was in there. I'm not sure if anything else here was in there, but I know for a fact this was in there. The Grudge. Now, there's 4 Grudge movies. There's the original 3, and they did a remake, which I didn't like at all. I didn't even bother picking that one up. If I saw it in like a $2 bin, I might grab it. But I got The Grudge. I got all 3 on DVD. These been in my collection for a long time. These are actually remakes. A lot of these, not a lot of these, but there's some of these that are actually like The Ring. I know for a fact The Ring 1 and 2 are they're remakes, or yeah, they're remakes to Japanese or Asian films, adaptations, Americanized adaptations of Japanese films, and so is The Grudge. I think The Grudge is called Ju-on in its home country. So, but The Grudge was scary. I actually enjoyed 1, 2, and 3. I enjoyed them all, but this one by far was scary as all get out to me. Here's a classic, Mia Farrow, Rosemary's Baby, a very good horror movie, very good. It's an older horror movie, so it doesn't hold up as well as some of the newer stuff, like far as scaring the bejeebies out of you. Some of the old stuff do, but this one, watching it today, is scary, but it's a different kind of scary. All right. Child's Play. This is the 7 movie collection, but I'm talking about the first one. I did like a couple of these. I didn't like them all, but I would say 1, 2, and 3, I enjoyed them, but I'm really talking about the first one. It was so different. I really enjoyed it. So that's Child's Play. Now, here's my curveball for y'all. I enjoyed Child's Play. This is the remake. This was really, really good. This was better than a lot of people gave it credit for, although the critics was not rough on this movie. And a lot of people liked it. And I liked it. I went into it with low expectations, but I like what they did with this. Fantastic. So that's just the curveball. It's not officially on the list, but there it is. Insidious. I did like all 3. I did not like Insidious, The Last Key. I didn't like that one at all. I don't even have that one. But I did enjoy Insidious. The first one is really good. I actually like 1, 2, and 3, but we're going to talk about the first one here. Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the complete collection, but I'm really focusing on the first one. And the reason why I'm focusing on the first one, because the first one was the first movie. It came out when I was a kid. The first one really gave me nightmares. This is the first movie that really gave me nightmares. When I tell you guys, Nightmare on Elm Street gave me nightmares as a child, it gave me nightmares. Like, dude, listen. It was the type of movie where we lived in a pretty decent-sized house. It wasn't no mansion or nothing like that. It was a 4-bedroom house, a row home in Philly. But it was a decent-sized house. And when you're a kid, you know, going from the second story down to the kitchen, all we from the second story all the way down to the kitchen at night. You're flipping all the lights and stuff on. This movie had me shook for, I ain't gonna say years, but it had me shook for a nice little bit. But I'm gonna focus on the first one and the third one, Dream Wars. I did like quite a few of these, not all of them, but I think I liked maybe 4 of these. But I'm focusing on the first one because this is the first movie that really, really left an impression on me. Okay, I think a lot of it because I was a kid when it came out. Anyway, Christine, great horror movie, really good horror movie actually. Not as scary as a lot of these other ones, but scary enough. This one is a little bit lower. I could have pulled something that was probably a little bit better than this one, but I wanted to put this one out. It's called Incarnate. Aaron Eckhart is in this one. It's a pretty decent horror movie. It's nothing crazy, but it's a good scary movie about a boy that's being possessed by a demon. Typical. It's a good horror movie. Here's another one that's probably on the lower end, but I just wanted to put it out because I really did like it. It's not rated super high, but I liked it, and I thought it definitely had some scary moments to it. Season of the Witch with Nicolas Cage. This was, and also Ron Perlman is in this one. This was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but it had its moments where it was pretty scary. I'm going to say not like scary, but it didn't really start getting scary towards like the middle to the end. That's when it really started to pick up and started to get a little scary. It's called Season of the Witch. Again, not the scariest of the bunch, but a pretty decent scary movie. Next, here's one that I never hear about. And I don't know why. This movie is really, really, really scary. It's called Darkness Falls. It's about the movie starts off, if memory serves me correctly, I haven't seen this in a while. The movie started off with a little boy, mother getting, I do believe, killed by this entity. And the entity stalks the boy, and then they do a time jump, and you can see the little boy as a grown man still having trouble with this demon stalking him. Fantastic movie. It is a scary movie, and I think it's a very underrated movie. It's called Darkness Falls. Here's one that's not super scary. It's classified as a horror movie. I think it's scary, but it's not edgy as see scary. But I wanted to put it out there because, again, this is a movie that don't really come up in horror discussions. And I think it should. It's called Needful Things. So what you got here is Ed Harris, Max von Sydow, and Bonnie Bedelia. A really good movie. So Max von Sydow comes to town. He's basically the devil. He opens up a shop called Needful Things, and he knows what people want and what people need, and he tempts them to do things for these things. Fantastic movie. I'm not sure how scary it is, but it's a really good horror movie for all intents and purposes. It's called Needful Things. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. Here's one that is a really good horror movie, and this one is one of the first movies I saw with one of the like twisty, bendy endings, with an ending to have you sit there like, wow, really, all along? It's got an ending very similar to The Sixth Sense. Very similar. It's called The Others with Nicole Kidman. This movie is really, really good. I'm telling you, you'll watch the whole movie, you'll think one thing, and then when you get to the end, you'll be like, yo, are you serious? But it will make sense the way it was done. Guys, listen, if you've never seen The Others, you have got to check this one out. I don't hear really nobody talking about this one, nobody really bringing this one up. Like I said, you'll watch this movie for the first time thinking one thing, and when you get to the end, you'll be like, yo, are you serious? The Others, check this one out. And here's my curveball. I had to throw one in there. I was going to throw 2 or 3 of them in there, but I said, no, we'll just do one. This one is a horror movie to me, and I think to a lot of you, you'll view this one as a like a hybrid horror movie, because it's not a straight up horror movie, but it's definitely like a hybrid horror movie, and that's Brightburn. Definitely a horror movie for sure, in my opinion, definitely. I would love to see a sequel to this. I'm not sure how that's going to work with Gunn now, with Gunn doing other things. But, oh, man, I love this movie. I thought it was scary. I thought it was just cringeworthy. A really good movie. I'm not sure if it will be classified as a horror movie. I got to see what genre this is officially part of, but it might be in the horror genre, but it's a good movie. A couple honorable mentions that I could have thrown in, but I didn't. Seven is a movie that I was getting ready to throw in. Seven is one of my favorite movies. I'm not sure where I got Seven at right now. Oh, here it is right here. I keep that one close by. I can watch this. This is a movie that I can watch anytime, any day, and just love Seven. Seven is an honorable mention. I was going to throw it in here, but I said nah, because it's not a horror movie. It's close, but not quite. I really did like Seven. Great movie. So that's my top 30 horror movies for now. Now, it's going to change. Each time I do it, it'll change because you know how it goes, guys. We add movies. We take movies away. Well, we don't really take movies away. We upgrade to different formats, but we definitely add. So that's my top 30. I was going to say, I think I said 25. That's my top 30 horror movies, not in any particular order. We got a couple curveballs in here. We got the curveball, and then we got the Child's Play in here, which is our honorable mention. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.